Good morning everybody and welcome to Wild Earth this morning, and it is a beautiful morning. There's a few small clouds alive around, but hopefully it's going to stay nice and bright for us this morning, which will be the first morning since I've been back that we don't have any drizzle very first thing, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed for everybody. Welcome on board Wendy this morning. My name's Tara, and joining me on camera this morning is Brian, and of course the thumb. But the thumb is different. See if you can see him on safari as we go around this morning here at Djuma Game Reserve. Back in final control we have Andrew, so if you would like to ask any questions, then do send them through to Andrew at questions@WildEarthTV or #SafariLive, and we'll see what we can find for you this morning. So I've got a few updates for you. But it looks like we have some more tracks heading down towards Gary Dam. So if anybody was on the Gary camera, the zoomies last night, or anybody watching, if you can just let me know if there was a line that crossed there last night, that would be great. It gives us a time frame. But it looks like those tracks were sometime between last night and this morning, possibly later on last night or earlier. There were tyre tracks over the top of them, but only one set. I think they were somewhere around maybe 11, 1 o'clock. We did hear lions, one single lion roaring over there, so I think that might have been the same individual. So we're going to see if we can head that way, but we'll see how far we get. I'm actually just looking over my shoulder now and I'm seeing some low cloud pulling in, so I'm really hoping it's not going to bring that rain. But we'll see how we go. So I'm going to turn around and see if we can head down towards the dam, see what's down there, and carry on from there. And some of you might be interested to learn the Birmingham males. There's still 5 of them apparently. I did bump into a guide as we were heading back last night towards camp, and he said they were over on the west. So we did pick up his tracks going along the edge of quarantine and then down again, which would work in with the calls that we were hearing. We did hear a hyena contact call just before we went live over that side. So I'm quite keen to go and check it out and see what's going on down there. So I'm going to leave the Impala for now. But it might have been our male from yesterday. Maybe he was trying to contact, and that would be why they call. But they do tend to call more at night or during the day. More at night or first thing in the morning rather than during the day, because the air settles at night, so the sound can carry a lot further. So they'll be able to hear each other and contact each other. But if they really panicked and they're really looking for support or help, then you may hear them calling during the day, but it doesn't happen very often. Sorry, I was just welcoming everybody. I just missed the first part of your message. Yeah, we just Gary Dam, just on the northern side, just by the lodge. I'm just going to go over the dam more and just see if I can't pick them up again. Copy. Yeah, it looks like this Madoda thundered north along the west side of quarantine and then turned towards Boyers. Sounds like we have a little bit of help this morning trying to locate that male lion. go onto the wall, but we'll keep our eyes peeled. Thanks, Larry. Welcome on board to you. Morning. Larry heard lions calling. Ah. Okay, so he's just picked up some lion tracks from the female, heading from Philemon's Dip south. But Larry heard lion calling about 1:30. Thanks, Larry, that's really helpful. So it's about the right time frame for those tracks there, I was saying. Out there. There's a small herd of buffalo here at Gary Dam. About 17 buffalo there, but I wonder, it looks like there might be one or two females there, just the horns don't look as big, and the faces look slightly more slender than the males. Yeah, just to the right of your screen now. I think there's about 15 bulls there, and maybe those two, maybe they could be young bulls. It would make more sense for them to be young bulls. But just the look of them says to me they're female, and they're slightly brown in colour as well, whereas the bulls tends to be slightly more black. Maybe they came over for protection from the lion. All busy chewing the cud at the moment. And for those of you who may have missed about the baby hyena on drive last night, I managed to ask Zotwa, who does a little bit of cleaning for us in camp, how to spell to hide in Shangaan, and she said it was Tumbela, so T-U-B-E-L-A. That's how she said it gets spelt, Tumbela, and that means to hide. And I thought Bella is probably going to be the shortened version of it, which I thought was very fitting as well. Well, I'll leave these boys chewing the cud. See, they're just chewing around, they're standing there chewing, that's what they're doing. Chewing whatever they've eaten overnight, and just resting in the water, and they'll do that for the rest of the day. And I think it is going to start warming up very rapidly now. I'm just keeping an eye on this mist. So let's continue on. And see if we pick up the male tracks that side. Just keeping my ear to the ground about the female tracks that are being picked up. Apparently she's changed her direction. She was heading towards Treehouse Dam, but then she changed towards Twin Dams, and we're heading in that general direction as well. Going on down here. So it may be that he crossed right next to Voyatella last night. So it wouldn't have been picked up by the camera, but just his calling. There's nothing here this morning. So it may be that he did change his direction and went north again. Because remember, we had other mail tracks going north on that road just in front of us. And we just had the one track which looked like it could have been from last night, just next to Voyatella. It was very difficult to really say if he hadn't turned off into the bush. Maybe that is what happened, because I'm not picking anything up here. Just go a little bit further down, otherwise we'll maybe turn around and try Vubu. It might even be worth us trying Gallego, just turning around completely and heading towards Gallego. Although there is that little pan at the back, isn't there? Maybe we should try there. It looks like he was on a bit of a mission. Yeah, we've got hyena tracks going that way. We did hear hyena calling. So I wonder if it was this individual. Can you just have a look on that side for me in that nice thick sand? See if there's anything there. Is it just the hyena, or is it? Yeah, no lion. Okay. Copy. Not picking up any encounters south of Gary Dam. You may have jiggered north again. Okay, copy. We might just come down. Welcome back, everybody. And we've just had an update just as we reached you there. It does sound like somebody's just put our lion lodge at a place called Ingo Marty, and now welcome back, everybody. Not sure, there must be a gremlin on that road there. So we're just below the quarantine there, but seem to be losing you. But we're back on the road heading down towards Philemon's Dip. So you probably didn't quite catch the last message I was giving you about the lions. So the male lion tracks that we were just following, we weren't picking anything up on the southern side. So our next plan was to go north along Vubu Road and just see if there was anything there. But it looks like he did change direction, which is what Jigger means. And it sounds like he headed towards Gowrie Gate, which is quite far to the west of us. And then someone's just picked him up further north, I think on Buffles Hook by the sounds of it. So we're going to see if we can maybe help with the female lions, see if they pick up anything down this side. So they were on this road and they could cross down onto Twin Dams Road, so somebody's following up those tracks at the moment, so we're going to go down and just see if we can give them a hand. But I'm just keeping an eye on this cloud here, so we might just take a swing by the hyena den and just see what this cloud is doing. If it's quite heavy rain, we're going to have to run back to the little house on the prairie. So we'll just pop into the hyena den, just see what's happening there and see what the weather's going to do. After me saying it's nice and clear, look at it. Look how quickly it pulled in. Absolutely amazing. But Mr. Birchall's cuckoo did call, so it is possible we'll get a little bit of rain. Maybe one of these mornings we'll have a clear sky. Although, to be fair, the temperature is very nice and it is perfect cap temperature. But I do wonder if those male tracks were the same male looking for his brother, who also looks like he went north. Hi, Carol Ann. Good morning to you in South Dakota. And welcome on board. Oh, sorry, doves. Welcome on board this morning. Carol Ann wanting to know, I've said in the past about white not being a good colour to wear in the bush. I'm making my way that side slowly. I'll give you a hand. So yeah, white is not a great colour to wear in the bush, especially if you're walking. I don't really mind too much if my guests wore it on game drive, because the vehicle kind of takes priority in an animal's view. Because you're all collected together on the vehicle. But when you're walking, it's a different story. So if I had any guests wearing white, or even just light colours, it's a big no-no, because you stick out like a sore thumb. You see with the white tails on the impala and the kudu, and you can see them for so far away, so it's not a good idea. Because you want to blend in, you want to remain hidden from the animals when you're walking through the bush. So even when I was walking, I'd wear a darker shirt than this, usually green or browns. I'd encourage people to wear navy blues, blacks, things like that would just blend in. Just hoping we get to see somebody today. Ooh, there is somebody here. Let's just head around the other side here. Get a little bit of a better view. Good morning. And I think baby is there, but it's just, she's, oh, there she is. Good morning, Dumbella. Oh, beautiful. She looks like she's full of beans this morning. I can actually just make her out from behind the bush, so hopefully she'll come back out again. She does look like she's got a lot of energy this morning, probably because she slept in late last night. She did poke her head out just as we were leaving, but we wouldn't have really been able to show you anyway, because we don't put spotlights on baby hyenas, especially this young. because you could put their life in danger. So it's very common practice. Once it gets dark, you just let them melt into the darkness. Oh. Bedtime. Are you going to come and show her? Are you taking him, Mum? Well, thank you very much for bringing her out to show us. I was wondering if she was going to start moving her to another den, but maybe she was just playing. Because I can't see the teat swollen up, so I don't think this is Mum. I think this is the youngster again. But you see how boisterous she can be back, and that's what it really does cement it for me, that she's a little female. Now, I did have an interesting question just before we closed down last night about males and when they disperse. Because it's, for those of you who don't know much about hyenas, it's female dominated. And there we go. Oh no, this is Mum. I can see the teats now. Okay, so Mum does have a notch in her left ear. Okay, so she is actually quite young then. And a notch in the top right ear. So that is the female that we saw yesterday, so I think that is Mum that we saw yesterday. I thought it might have been the youngster. But I wonder if she isn't picking up the scent of the lions, because I think the lions walk down the road just behind us there, and I'm wondering if that was the scent that she's picking up, and maybe she's getting a little bit uneasy, and maybe she is going to start moving Baby. It looks like that's what she's trying to do, but Baby's got other plans. Because you can see she keeps looking in that general direction over her shoulder there. She's like, no Ma, I don't want to go, I like it here. And I wonder actually, maybe she's a first time mum, because she does look a little bit awkward with Baby. Maybe she is a first time mum. You can see that reaction, hey? She knows where it's safe. What are you looking at over there, lady? Of course, it is safer for Mum's to move here. Check her stance, look. But it is safer for mums to move their offspring during the day, because obviously the larger carnivores aren't as active during the day, so you tend to find leopards moving their cubs during the day. But what she's kind of forgetting is that this is overcast, so the cats are more likely to be mobile now. So I really hope baby wins out. But it does look like Mum is determined. But it could be that she's moving her to a communal den. Morning, Joe. Joe wants to know. Oh, look at this. What's wrong, lady? What are you smelling, hey? So I wonder if that female that we saw right on the first day was her mother. It could well have been. And remember, the little pup was playing with this one quite a lot, and maybe that was why. Maybe we got it wrong, that this was Mum and it was actually Grandma that was lying down next to the hole. But she is absolutely adamant that she has to leave. Now I wonder, there is actually another hyena den just down the road where she's walking, and I'm wondering if she's going to move it there. Now I'm not going to follow her and bring attention to her, because I am a little bit worried with it being overcast, and if she is adamant that there's something there, we could potentially interfere. But I'm just going to keep a watch as much as possible. She is walking down towards, I can see there is another den there, and we can actually access that den from the other side of this road, so we'll see if she's heading that way. And it's also a very thick bush here, so for me to try and keep up would be very difficult as well. But yeah, you can see she was looking over her shoulder constantly this side, so we'll see. We'll see if we can pick up anything as we leave. There's some easy and Mampimpan mobile south from the Kaya, possibly she's speaking of the Ngala scent. So yeah, so lions can't get into this hole. Even though they look big enough, the lions could potentially dig, but there'll be a little scrape or a little tunnel that the baby would have excavated naturally. They seem to have that instinct just to dig and get out of the way, and even adult hyena can't get to them. Right. I was hoping we could actually just say hello, but it, obviously just the reversing scared her. Now I'm just seeing if we can catch up with that hyena again, but as I say, I'm just seeing where I know there's a 2-track coming into another hyena den, and it could be that's where she's taking Pop by. Otherwise, trying to work her way through the bush would be very difficult to keep up with her anyway. She had quite a pace on her. But I don't think it was right at this stage, because obviously she wasn't happy. There was something there that she thought something was there. She could well have been right, because remember, her senses are a lot keener than ours. And she decided no, she had to move. But it definitely wasn't anything to do with us. She was quite happy with us. It was something over her shoulder. So this is where the lions did walk. And as I say, it could be that they scent marks and she was picking that up on the wind. The breeze is kind of going that way. But amazing behaviour to see. But I think it might be worth us just checking around in this drainage line here. Hi Tim. Good morning to you. Oh Kim, sorry Kim. We need to get my hearing sorted out. But welcome on board Kim. And Kim wanted to know, seeing as the baby was so adamant that it wanted to stay, would it try and make its way back to the den? Go ahead. Copy. Where did you find them? Copy that. Do you think we can see it from Gary, Maine? Okay, copy. Thank you. If they move, if you could let me know, that'd be great. Sorry, just getting an update on lions there. I'll let you guys know now. There is another hyena den over by trees down. I think it depends obviously on how far away she moves, baby. But I think once baby is put into a den, I think it will get used to that den as well. I'm wondering if this isn't where she was born. That could be why she was so attached to this den. And as I say, I think if mother had been a little bit more experienced, I don't think she would have been allowed to run back as many times. That's what she did. But she kept trying to get a better grip on her, and obviously that's when baby decided, no, that's it, I'm gone. But it's amazing how much of a pull that instinct to get back to that hole. She knows that's where safety is. Quite amazing. Apparently 2 of the sticks females. I'm going to try and get to a better signal area. It should be just around the corner here. I'm just trying to get you guys through the choppy patch there. I tried to hold on to my trail of thought. What was I saying? But yes, I do wonder if she isn't taking. She'll be taking her to the communal den, or just another den to use for the baby to become a little bit larger. But it does depend on what rank this female is within the family as well, and that I can only really work out if I see her with other adults and who she greets and who greets her. Because if she gets greeted, you know that she's very high up, and if she goes to greet, then you know she's fairly low down, and that will also dictate when she'll move the cub to the communal den. Because obviously if she's very low down and she moves the cub too early, cub can get bullied and could potentially be bullied and maybe even killed. But once they get to that age, it's not so much of a problem. They're not really going to kill each other, but certainly the bullying may start. But I was going to tell you about the males, because the males, if they're born to a matriarch, they tend to have a much better start in life, because even though they're highly subordinate to the females, they do have a good start if they are born to a matriarch, because they have the attitude that comes along with being a high-ranking animal, and they may actually stay a little bit longer than subordinate males with the mothers. So the males will tend to disperse about 2 years old, but the other boys to the matriarch might stay maybe 3 years or so, and they can obviously get that bit bigger in size, and that's what gives them a lot more confidence when it comes to approaching the females, and they're more likely to become the mating males, or the breeding males. Well, I haven't seen any sign of it coming out of this block yet. And it looks like that hyena den I was talking about that could maybe get to off of Weaver's Nest Road hasn't been visited for a little while. So I'll have to try and find out where it is, but she was heading towards it on that game trail. See it from where we were. So I do wonder if she isn't, because her pace was pretty much that of, she should have popped out here by now, but I haven't seen any tracks either. So I think she has just moved it to another den in that area, which is good news. So I'm going to go back to just that junction and just see if there isn't anything that pops out, especially maybe we can have a quick look in that drainage line, because say there was something that panicked her, and it could have been the line spraying, or maybe it was a leopard, and we've spoken about this a little bit before, and I know a lot of people are not great lovers of hyenas again because of what happened with Karula's cub, but as I say, it is nature and it does happen, and as heartbreaking as it is, it's obviously, we feel for these animals. I mean, we're following them day in, day out. We get to spend so much time with them, and we get to know their personality, and I say it's like their own personal soap opera. And it is very heartbreaking when one of them passes away. But as I say, I'm still amazed at Karula. She has got such an accolade behind her that she's got 8 cubs that have been reared successfully to adulthood in her short life. I mean, she's coming up to, she's probably about 11 years old now. And I think that is amazing, and to have had one cub, possibly two. We're not sure what happened to the second cub, but it could be that she's still got the one cub. But to just have the one cub taken is I'd say very heart-wrenching, and don't get me wrong, it is very upsetting, but at the same time, 1 out of 9 is quite amazing, and these things do happen, and cub mortality is quite high in leopards, and that's what makes Karula an absolutely incredible cat, because she's had so much success, and I think we've gotten used to that success, and I suppose we expect it to always be there. And if you think about her daughters, they've not been as successful. They have sadly lost quite a few cubs. I think certainly Shadow has lost them. I think Shadow is Tandy, if I remember rightly. But she has lost many a cub. And if you think about it, if carnivores don't lose offspring, so remember they'll have multiple offspring each time. If all of them survive, then the carnivores are going to overpopulate, and they're going to start really diminishing the herbivore populations. And if the herbivore populations get diminished, that means that the carnivores will then starve because there's not enough food available. And so it is this cycle. So as sad as it is, that there has to be losses as well. And as I said before, I don't think anybody would want to see this little one being taken by a leopard. And make no mistake, if a leopard does come around and sees that little one out, there's a very, very good chance that they will actually kill it. And that is the way of the bush. If you're bigger, you tend to take out the smaller things. And obviously, hyenas can become a threat as they get older, which is also why hyenas will take out leopard as well. It is another predator, and it is competition. So nature isn't always nice. There are the harder sides to nature as well. But without those things, there'd be just an explosion of animals, and it would actually be suffering anyway because there isn't enough to eat. Is there a little 2-track there? Okay, so we're back at Philemon's Dip. I'm wondering if it's worth us just checking around the den again, just to see if anyone hasn't been there since we've been there. Oh no, that's not. Is that a little 2-track? Looks like someone's been in here. So if you missed the update for the lions, apparently it was there was 2 Styx lions. So it's good to hear they were about, but they did cross over Gowrie Main, and apparently we're not able to be able to see them from Gowrie Main. And it sounds like possibly a male was calling around that area as well, but I'll keep my ear to the ground, because if they do, I have asked if they do move and they move up this way again, just to let me know. So it'd be lovely to catch up with the Styx. They were actually my first lionesses that I saw here. But I'm also wondering if, with the female hyena, as I say, everything is screaming at me now that she's a first-time mum. And it could be that she was just that little bit skittish and maybe caught the scent of the lions. Maybe they'd sprayed along here and the wind just started picking up, because obviously the dawn and air starts moving, and maybe she just picked up that scent and she was just worried. So, because I'm fairly sure we should have seen movement from where we were, and even when we came out we should have seen something, because she was looking in this direction. But I'm just checking just to make sure that she wasn't right. It could be, as I say, that she was just being overprotective, which is never a bad thing in the bush, because, as I say, even a lion, if they come along and find the cub, they could kill it. Wild dog, pythons, they'll come along, or even smaller snakes when they're that big. Make it an easy meal. Jackals, if they came along and found a hyena pup, they could potentially kill it as well. And that's why it's so important, if you're that small, to hide away and to try and grow as rapidly as possible. Nobody sitting up in that tree watching events. It's actually very quiet this morning. There's plenty of francolin around. Good morning to you, Ryan. Welcome on board this morning. I'm not sure where Ryan's from, but I hope you're enjoying from wherever you are in the world, Ryan. And Ryan wants to know why we use the African names for the animals when we're driving. And when we're in contact with the other vehicles, we do use the African names. Just because they have guests on board, and this is such a large area and it's split up into different properties, and different vehicles can drive on different properties, and some vehicles can traverse quite a large area, some areas and not others. So if there is a sighting, say like of the lions, and you're driving around and someone says, oh, we've got lions, then obviously that's an animal that everybody wants to see. So the guests will say, oh, can we go and see the lions? And there's going to be a huge disappointment if the guide says, look, I'm really sorry, but we can't go there. And now obviously you're getting to see a bit of the behind the scenes with us, because obviously we say, oh, we can't get there, especially with the signal and that sort of thing. But obviously when guests are here, they don't quite understand that, especially if they're first time on safari as well. Oh, hello squirrel. See, we've got plenty of squirrels around, and this is also what makes me think maybe she was just overreacting a little bit. Oh, is it? Oh no, he's still there. So these little tree squirrels are our little sentinels, and the francolins as well that I was just pointing out. So if they see any predators, they'll give this high-pitched chirping sound, and that's what I've been listening out for. And the francolins as well, they'll give an alarm call, and if there's any other antelope in the area as well, they'll give an alarm call. So that's what I've been listening out for. And when she was picking up the scent of something, it was very quiet. Now, this little guy was obviously around. She was looking over her shoulder in this general area. So if anything was seen, this little guy would have picked it up, and it hasn't. So I think, as I say, with it being a first-time mum, all of these sentinels were around and they didn't see or speak about anything. I'm getting more and more convinced that it was maybe the lions, and maybe they scent marked, and she just picked up that scent as the wind started moving. That's what I'm starting to really put all these little pieces together, and that's part of what you do with the bush. You try and put all these little pieces together and try and work out whether the animals are there or whether they're not there. But I think maybe we'll finish our search. I'll keep maybe driving around. We'll go around this drainage line here and just see if there isn't anything moving here. I could be completely wrong, but there's a lot saying that maybe that was the scenario. But we'll try along here. Maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe there'll be a leopard. It is overcast. I see that low cloud has lifted, so hopefully we can go a little bit further afield and check out what's going on. But I'll see if I can try and catch up with that hyena later on, see if we can work out where that other hyena den is and have a look. But hopefully she'll get her settled in and she'll be nice and safe as well. I'm sure she will. And as I say, Ntumbela, like her name suggests, hides very well. She knows where to hide to keep safe. So I've got no doubt she'll be fine. But certainly extremely interesting behaviour to watch this morning here on Wild Earth. And that is the first time I've seen a female actually moving her pup. So you can see how often you see it. I've been in the bush for 9 years in areas where spotted hyena occur for 2 of them, and that is the first time that I've actually seen that behaviour. So pretty amazing, and that's what I love about Wild Earth. You can actually watch this behaviour unfolding, and because we're live, we don't know what's going to happen. We can just try and put these things together and try and come up with the correct answer. Okay, there's another little 2-track here. It might just be worth us having a quick peek in here. Maybe we'll have a look down towards the other hyena den, because remember there was that one on Cheetah Cut line that was active as well, but again, with the lions visiting it, they might have moved those cubs to somewhere else. But I am going to be a little bit sad to not be able to catch up with little Ntumbela. As I say, it's definitely better mum reacting and moving her out the way, keeping her safe, than just leaving her there. So you can see she's definitely a caring mum. I'm going to do a bit of the matrix here. So that is why we do use the African names, Lawrence. And you might hear Mbizi. We've been hearing that quite a lot. Mbizi is the hyena. Ingwe is the leopard. The Ngala are the lions. And Glove are elephants. So I was talking about Glove quite a bit yesterday. I'm going to see if I can maybe turn around, just might make life a little bit easier going back underneath that tree there. There's another termite man there as well. So I'm just looking out for potential den sites that she might take little Ntumbela to, but I think she has stayed in that block. Made it. Cool. And Yari is the buffalo. Mampimpan just means baby. Kaya is house. So you might have heard me saying Mbisi Kaya, just means the hyena den. Thought I was being attacked by something then. there goes our little steenbok again. Dwarf antelope. Interestingly enough, they bury their dung. Quite why they do this, no one really knows. I think he was using the same little spot just to hide up in. So still no alarm calls coming from this area either. Oh, and there's a little daker. Let's see if I can actually move back. Oh, you see him through there, running away? There we go. Grey daker. A little male with the horns there. You can see that nice black face. Oh, there's the steenbok just to the right. There we go. Steenbok and daker in the same shot. That doesn't happen very often. So you can see they're roughly about the same size. Okay, does steenbok think he's daker? That was actually a little female steenbok. Never heard of them interbreeding. They don't tend to recognise each other as dwarf antelope. As far as I know, but you can see they're roughly about the same size, but the daker was slightly more stocky, so it's slightly wider that way. Steenbok a little bit more streamlined. The red colour of the steenbok. There's the daker again. So the grey or common daker. And they both live either solitary. Occasionally the daker lives in a pair. The steenbok I've seen more in a pair. So it could be the steenbok is still looking for a mate. But the small antelope tend to live solitary or pairs. There he is again. That's the daker. And that's where it gets its name from, daker, to dive. It does dive through the bush and get away. Okay, well let's make a turn by Chelapan. So with this overcast day we should get some cat activity, so looking for any signs of potential movement, but it might be worth us heading towards the west side because I think there's been a lot of movement vehicles down this side checking twin dams in that area. So it might be worth us checking Zoe's Road, Rebecca's Road, around Sandy Patch area and just see if we can find any cat tracks this morning. Someone has driven this road already by the looks of it. I think this is possibly where the sticks cross then. They did say they crossed, but it sounded like it was further down and then crossed over Elephant Skull Road, but it might have been Chelapan. somber green ball I've just heard. Somewhere in the tree here. Winnie, why won't you come out and play, please? That's what he says. It's amazing how much vegetation is actually here. Oh, I can just see the boss of buffalo here. I was just about to say, it does actually hide quite a lot. It just goes to show how much even a one-ton animal can hide very easily. There's two here by the looks of it. Hello boys, have you seen any cats around here lately? And the black-crowned checker also calling in the back there. So hopefully you can hear that somber green ball as well. You're hearing that whistle? Nice. So that one is the chegra. Wow, my whistle is not working today. It's a bird you don't often see, so I'll show you quickly in the book. Okay, so the black-crowned checker is still called the black-crowned checker. That's good. So it's this guy here, quite a beautiful bird, and he tends to stick in the thick of the bush, so that's why you don't tend to see him, but obviously you can hear him. So that's the black-crowned checker, the one that sounds like someone who's had a little bit too much to drink and is trying to hold a tune, not quite getting it. We do also get the brown-crowned, which used to be called the three-street. So his cap is brown, and the black-crowned is black, as the name suggests. So those two we do get around here, and that's how you tell the difference. Well, I think, again, there's not much in the way of alarm calls here. It might just be worth us just checking that drainage line there. We'll just do a turn down there. Just make sure there's no cats lying up, and then we'll head down towards Rebecca's and Zoe's and Sandy Patch area, I think. See if we hit it lucky that side. Let these boys look settled in. Give us a call if you see anything, boys. A few more Duggar boys. For those of you who have just joined us and maybe have never been on safari before, it's very normal to see male buffalo chilling out And we do call them Dugger boys because they quite often roll in mud. We were privileged to see one of them the other day rolling right over onto his back like a dog does. Same as the rhinos. I've seen rhinos do that, but I wasn't sure if buffalo do that. I've never seen them do that before. But they roll and cape themselves in mud all over their body, so it's nice and cool. And Zulu, the Zulu word for mud, is Dugger. It's a little bit more than that. It was a mixture, so it was fairly wet stuff, and that's where they get the name from, Dugger boys, because they like to roll in it. So it helps to cool them down, but it also protects them from the sun, because even though we've got clouds, I'm sure a lot of you are aware, you can still get sunburn. Oh, we were going to check out the drainage line, weren't we? I think it is worth us doing that. Ooh, hornbills. Hello, southern yellow-billed hornbills. It's quite a mouthful nowadays. Oh, yes, somebody was asking about the matimba. Sorry, who was asking about the matimba earlier? Was it Barbara? I think it could be Barbara. Getting sidetracked by the bird calls. But welcome on board, Barbara. I think it was Barbara. Asking about the matimba. Did he find the females he was tracking yesterday? And I would say possibly not. I think that was his tracks that we found this morning. And I think he might be on his way back up towards maybe the rest of his coalition. Okay, the bird that's calling now, listen carefully. And see if you can identify that. Send your answers through. So the bird that's calling. Chip chirr. Who is that bird that is calling? Questions at WildEarthTV. Hashtag Safari Live, and see who comes back with the correct answer first. So the southern yellow-billed hornbill. See, I've got to try and remember that one. It's quite long. Sorry, who was asking about the birds? Oh, puffback. Jeffrey from Texas. Welcome on board, Jeffrey. Oh, I lost him. I just heard one of my favourite birds, the black-backed puffback. And that was somewhere over in that bush, and I think he's flown off. But one of my students actually came up with probably one of the best descriptions for a bird call ever. She said it sounded like somebody hitting a golf ball and going. So when you hit it, it's like, and then as the ball goes, it's. Oh, you see, my whistle's not working. Oh, let me wet my whistle. It's because it's very humid today. Okay, I'm going to have to really work on my whistle. But yeah, so it does, it sounds like a golf ball being hit and then it flies off. And that is the black-backed puffback. And he puffs up the feathers on his back so it looks like a snowball. And that's where it gets its Afrikaans name, a sneeuwbal. But Jeffrey, welcome on board, Jeffrey, and very well timed with your question. Why do bird names keep being changed so often? Personally, I think it's to sell more books. Because once you buy a bird book, you don't buy a new one. But the real reason is... Oh, I'm really losing the road here, aren't I? Let's try. Going down the fork, there we go. So we'll just make a quick turn in the drainage line. But it's to come into line with the rest of the world. So there's some birds in South Africa that the bird has a different name to the rest of the world, and there's some birds that have the same name as another bird in the rest of the world, but it's completely different. So it's to try and come into line with that, and I'm sure it's happened in other countries as well, just to try and bring everything into line, and it does make a lot of sense. But that's why there's been a lot of name changes. And as I say, ooh, mouse birds. There they go. Nice. Right in the top of the tree there on the left. They get the name because of the long tail and the grey body, mouse birds. And there might be just that little bit. Jeffrey, Brian, Wendy, Georgina, Mauricia, Peter, well done to all of you getting the correct answer quickly. With the Woodlands Kingfisher, you've been listening, well done. Now I can see the bird just on the right has got a red face, so it's a red-faced mouse bird. And I think there could be a couple of juveniles there as well. Interestingly, they can move their toes slightly, so you do get the passerines that have 3 toes forward, 1 toe back, and you get the what's called the zygodactyl, and they got 2 toes forward and 2 toes back. But these guys are slightly different in that they can change between 3 toes forward and 1 toe back, and 2 toes forward and 2 toes back, and that allows them to climb, but it also allows them to perch as well. So the mouse birds, they're just a little bit far away there for us, but at least you might be able to see them. And you can see that long tail sticking out. But let's go and check this drainage line before we head down towards Zoe's road. Just in case, because I say this is perfect cat weather. So I do want to check area, see if we can pick up any cat tracks. So unfortunately our lion tracks, the lions have gone beyond the boundaries. They just passed through. So if you're just joining us, the sticks were found. Their tracks were on the other road, crossed over onto the road that we're on now, headed straight down toward dams, and unfortunately crossed over the main road, Gary, onto the Chitwa property. So the guys did tell me if they move over, then they'll let me. And hi everybody, welcome back. And I'm not sure how much you could hear, but just in case you missed your welcome, Alice, welcome on board this morning from Nevada. So we had to leave the drainage line. I think we were having a couple of signal problems there, so I wasn't able to get to the drainage line. We've just turned around and headed back. So we're heading towards Zoe's and Rebecca's, see if we can pick up any cat tracks, because it is overcast. Hopefully we will see some movement. It's perfect cat weather. So yeah, Alice wanted to know about my experience with the Majingu lions who walked past us some years ago now, when I was driving for Wild Earth last. And I was just saying, I think it felt very different from when the Matimba walked past. And he's actually quite an old boy. Oh, kudu bull. He was quite an old boy. You can see black, his nose was very black, and that's one way you can tell or guesstimate the age of a cat when they first born. The pink, and as they get older it goes black. I'm hoping he's going to walk out into that open area. There we go. see if we can pull forward again when he disappears. He is beautiful. What a beautiful bull. Okay, and I'm just going to pull forward, see if we can see him again. So this is a kudu bull, much bigger than the dwarf antelope we saw in the same area just now. Oh wow, he's got 2.5 turns on his horns. Stunning. Can't be easy walking around with that weight on top of your head. Now they are mainly browsers, so it could be there's a small bush, which is what he's feeding on, more likely than the grass. Especially this time of year, there should be plenty of food, so he shouldn't need to supplement with grass. Oh, squirrel's calling. You can see he picked up on that as well. Now he's trying to work out if it's going to be a problem to him or not, whatever the squirrel's talking about. Let's see if we can go and join the squirrel and just see what it's chirping about, because we're not far from where we had the hyena moving. And it'd be nice to actually get the sound on camera for you. So the trick is to try and find where the squirrel is, look at where it's looking, and hopefully try and find what it's looking at. I wonder if it's our squirrel that we saw just now. I'll call again. Of course, it goes quiet. Can you see it? I'm just going to poke my nose in just a little bit. I'm struggling to see where the squirrel is, but squirrel seems to think there's something there. Hopefully you can hear that chirping. Oh, there it is. Ah, right. Yeah, just on that branch, just by the termite mound. And it's looking straight across into this bush here. we got him? There he is, yeah. You can see that tail flicking as well, so hopefully you can hear that high-pitched chirping going on. Just want to see if we can get a slightly closer look in this bush here, because Squirrel is adamant there's something here. There's Franklin calling, that was just their normal call, it wasn't the alarm call. Let's just have a look. I've just been trying to have a look with binoculars just to see we can get a nice view in here. The animals were given an alarm call for anything that's a potential problem to them. So the smaller animals were given an alarm call for a lot more than what the larger animals were. That there is someone just lying in here. I just want to see if we can get a better view. Grey go-away birds joined in. So there's either this tree that's in front of you now, but I'm not seeing any snakes. Very thick grass there. Looks like it could easily just hide a leopard. Remember, this was just a little bit further down from where the hyena was thinking it was smelling something. So it could just be she was right. See anything there? There's just that little ditch here. I just want to have a look. If we don't come right there, then we'll pull back out. Slightly different angle. I'm just going to have another look with the binoculars there. Not seeing any spots. Just poking those over the broad drainage line here. Anybody in here? The grey go-away birds are in that tree there. But I found the grey go-away birds tend to jump on the bandwagon. I don't tend to give them much weight when it comes to knowing or letting us know that there's somebody down there. I don't know if you can see, it's a little bit awkward, but right below us there's a sheer drop just here on this side. There's a nice sandy area just below. This is why it's nice to have something backed up when you do hear a squirrel, because as I say, it could be that it saw a snake in these trees here, but it was looking down, so I'm saying it was something more on the ground. Could have been a slender mongoose. As I say, it could have been a leopard. The grey go-away bird is shouting from that side. I'm not seeing any movement now. We'll go out and just go around the other side here, because the go-away bird is there, but as I say, we might get another view of the drainage line here. So while we're still looking, so I'm going to go on the other side, just see if there isn't any other movement there, but I think maybe squirrel was leading us up the garden path when it came to leopard, unfortunately. But it's worth checking. As I say, they do worry about a lot of things, including leopard and lion. Oops. There was going to be somebody lying in that bush. I couldn't see any sign of a cat. And I think with the eagle eye on the back here, I'm sure we would have seen it. Okay, but worth checking. Worth checking. But yeah, as I say, having the Matimba walk past yesterday very closely was very different to the Majingi lands, and I think it was because of the attitude. But he was on a mission, he wanted to find females, and he actually lowered his head as he walked by, and I think that could have been the difference. He almost he lowered his head, and he wasn't walking as proud as what the Majingi lions did. Majingi lions were walking with their heads up, and they really were just patrolling, and that really was quite a different feeling. And I do remember holding my breath. But it was also at night, and that's when the lions just seemed to get even more courage, and I don't know, they're just, the attitude is just so different. And as I say, they're so much sure of themselves during the night, and it was exactly the same distance actually. They were walking right down the centre of the road, and we just pulled off. The first male didn't even give us time of day, and you could see the slight difference in dominance. So we had the first male, the dominant male, and then just behind him the second and the third. They were there was one just in front of the other, but not, they were walking side by side. but it was the last one, the one with very little mane, and the manes were different. They didn't have as big a mane as the Matimba yesterday. But it was that last one, and he looked at me, and he looked straight at me. And he read my soul that day. That was just, but I think it was because of his attitude as well, and I thought, there's that split second, you feel like prey. Whereas I actually didn't feel like that yesterday. It was a very different feeling from that old gentleman, and it did really feel like he was an old gentleman. Whereas I think the Bajingi lions, because of what they had done, it was almost like he was a little bit of a juvenile delinquent and anything goes. It was that kind of feeling, I think. And I think some people were a bit concerned. They thought he was looking a bit thin yesterday, and what I actually forgot to mention was that I think when we were used to seeing lions, we're used to seeing them in zoos, and they're extremely fat. They're fat and lethargic. I mean, okay, lions don't move for long periods at a time. They can spend up to 22 hours a day sleeping sometimes. But remember, if they were carried any inch of fat, it would slow them down. They wouldn't be able to catch food. He was in really good condition, actually. He was probably in one of the best conditions I've seen a male lion. He just needed a meal, that was all. He was a little bit on the thin side, but he was fit. You could see those muscles. He really was really good looking. It was just a little bit thin on his back end, nothing a good decent meal won't sort out. So he is hungry, but remember, cats work on that empty and full scenario. So when they are full, they won't move, and they will eat and eat and eat, and it looks like the belly's going to burst, and they'll eat a bit more. Then they'll let that digest a bit, and then they'll get up and eat a bit, and then they'll let that digest, and then once it's digested a little bit, they'll go and drink. So obviously once they've had a meal, there's going to be a lot of salts. So they do work on that scenario. But no, he was looking good yesterday, and very few ticks as well, which is also quite a good indication of the health of the animal. If they have a lot of ticks, it does tend to suggest that they're not as healthy. And his mane is obviously looking in good condition. Again, if he's not very healthy, the mane starts deteriorating very rapidly. Hi George, welcome on board this morning from Florida. Wondering if you guys are nice and sunny as we are this morning, although we do have a little bit of cloud cover, but it's still beautiful and warm. I think it is known as the sunshine state, isn't it, Florida? But welcome on board, and George wants to know if Blondie is back with the Birmingham boys, and is that why they're up to 5 again? And I'm not too sure. If Blondie was the missing one, then I would say yes, but I'm not entirely sure. I will also try and remember to ask one of the guides if I see them again. We have been coming out to Djuma quite a bit recently. So we did bump into one of the guides last night who said they were just west and they have got a buffalo kill with them. So we're currently heading down Finneman's Cut Line, and we're going to head up Zoe's and have a wander around towards the Impala Plains area. Try and have a look to see if we've got any cat tracks this side, because I think there's been quite a bit of movement that side. It sounds like they've found Tandy, but again I think she's further south. actually does have a kill. Tandy being one of Karula's daughters, Karula being our resident female leopard here on Djuma, which I'm really hoping we'll get a chance to see. It's probably more likely next week because she's had a kill herself, and that's been down on Chitwa, which is kind of the next property over to the south, which is slightly out of where Karula is normally found, but as I say, they do tend to go beyond the boundaries of where their core area is, or the territory that their protected area is. So they will go beyond those boundaries to find food and water if need be, especially during the winter time. But obviously here the leopards don't need to worry about that too much because there's usually water at Gowrie Dam. But certainly food. And especially, we did notice actually that if there was a lot of line activity, it tended to be a little bit more difficult to find the leopards, and that could be what's been going on, because remember we've had line activity the last couple of days. Maybe that's why, even though it's good cat weather, we're not seeing much in the way of cat tracks from leopards. Oh, we've got the rollers here. I wonder if they're going to do the display. Lilac-breasted rollers. Beautiful. There's supposed to be somewhere in the region of 12 colours on a lilac-breasted roller. Go ahead, Ephraim. Yeah, affirmative, Ephraim, just on the last lock. Copy, thanks Ephraim. So it sounds like Tandy's cubs have made an appearance, and it sounds like it's on Torchwood side. So anyone keeping a track of where the leopards are, I'm just getting a location on that. I thought we may be able to go and see it, but it's just outside of where we're going to be able to see them as well. It's Tandy with her cubs. I really thought this roller looked like it was going to start displaying. Now the rollers get their name because of the display. They'll actually fly and almost tumble in the sky. It's quite amazing to see, and I think there was actually a second roller just below him. You can't see it, but it was just tucked away behind the fork of the tree there. You could hear that really harsh crying. For such a beautiful bird, they have quite a harsh call. you might start to see some of those colours. As I say, unfortunately, the sun's not shining on it, so you're not picking them up as much as you can do, but that beautiful lilac breast, the turquoise, the indigo blue, they do have purple on there as well, and obviously the black and the white, but it's the different shades. And you might be picking up the bird behind me, which is the crested barbet. You might recall it sounds like the bicycle, if a bicycle wheel's turning, a stick inside the bicycle spokes. And he's hidden away in the tree. Now he's definitely looking for a female. I'll show you the picture of him, because his call is very long and drawn out. It's this one here. As soon as he's mated, it gets very short. Same call, but just much shorter. So you can see he's been attacked by a paintbrush. You can see that beautiful yellow and red. And he's actually quite a big bird, fairly unmistakable. Cool. And there's actually an African monarch just sitting on the little bush just in front of us. I don't know if you're going to be able to pick it up. African monarch. Now there are butterflies that do mimic the African monarch because it is highly toxic. I remember hearing there was a little girl of about 5 years old that ate an African monarch. I'm not sure why, but obviously at 5 years old, anything pretty might be edible, and that possibly was why she ate it and she died, because it is just highly toxic. And other butterflies will mimic, especially the female diadem, so that other birds, or birds and anything else that might eat them, but typically birds will know to keep away, because they're orange and blacks and yellows and reds mean warning in the bush. So if you see a combination of that, it means keep back, I'm toxic, and that's known as aposematic coloration. Now, one of the ways you can tell the difference between a real African monarch and a mimic is the African monarch has a very lazy flight. And I don't know if you saw when it was moving from weed to weed. There you go. It's off. But it's actually got a very lazy flight. You can see it's just hovering around and it's just taking its time. So that is actually saying it's definitely an African monarch. If it's got quite a direct flight and it quite a rapid flight, that's most likely going to be a mimic. Because even though they have that coloration, they don't actually contain those toxins. So it seems to be one of those behavioural adaptations. But the way it actually works, this mimicry, and even with other animals, if a bird has tried one of these butterflies before, it doesn't taste very nice. It will spit it out because of those toxins. So it will remember, okay, keep away from those types of animals with orange. So if they have experienced that sometime in their life, they're likely to stay away from those butterflies. But there are some birds that will eat toxic butterflies and caterpillars, and the Deirdre's cuckoo apparently is one of them. So there are some that are able to handle the toxins. But quite a beautiful butterfly. Cool! Well, let's continue up Zoe's road. You can join us, Monarch. Let's see what's happening this side. Can you send the last question through again, please? I can't be, sorry, I thought you sent them through, thank you. Oh, there's the magpie shrikes, and they're still in the same area. I remember they used to have a nest here. Very cool. Magpie shrikes sitting in the little tree there. You can hear the babblers just in the background there. Oh wow, they must still have a nest on this junction. I remember they always, because they're actually communal breeders. I can hear there's another one chirping away somewhere. Used to be known as long-tailed shrike. This is one of those birds that did have a name change. You can see where it gets its other name from. It does look like a magpie that's found over in Europe, the black and the white. Oh, red-billed hornbill's having a fight over something. Oh no, yellow-billed having a fight with a red-billed hornbill. Yellow-bills are slightly bigger than the red-billed, so they tend to win out, but looks like the red-bill went into a bush and is just keeping its distance. Oh nice, here's the red hornbill just in front of us. Those of you might not have been able to see it properly. Did you win, buddy? And the yellow-billed's creeping up. Cleaning his beak off there. Oh, so there you go, there's the yellow-billed hornbill. You can see the bill's slightly heavier, but certainly that colour unmistakable. And they do walk around with a bit of an attitude, actually. They strut their stuff, especially around the staff area. They'll strut their stuff and they'll look for little tidbits, and they just have this attitude about them. It's brilliant. They always remind me of the little velociraptors, like a miniature version, I don't know why. But Denise from Pennsylvania, welcome on board. And would you have it, your questions just popped out of my head. I literally just had it in my head. Oh, that was it, ostriches. Sorry, Denise. I've got a goldfish memory this morning. Just having a look along here for any tracks. There was an update, but it sounds like those lines are on the move, but they are heading further away, unfortunately. Come back, come back. But yes, we do get to see ostrich on occasion, and it's funny because I have seen ostrich on a number of occasions elsewhere, but I always remember driving along, I think it was Gary, Maine, and we just came over the crest of the hill and there was 3 ostriches walking towards us. Oh, I got so excited because we do get to see them on occasion, but it's very, very rare that we get to see ostrich. Again, it's not the best habitat for them, and this type of habitat, they get slowed down. Oh. Like there was a grey hornbill chasing a lilac-breasted roller then, but neither of them were easy to see on camera, unfortunately. I was thinking we're going to get another type of hornbill. So yeah, so unfortunately in this area they tend to, if they do come through, they tend to pass through very quickly, just like the cheetah. They tend to favour the open plains where they can really get up speed, because remember, the speed is what helps them to survive. They can outrun. Whereas here they get slowed down, they have to manoeuvre in amongst all the trees. So it does slow them down somewhat. Ooh, let's see if we can get, okay, we've got a who dung it question. Remember, it can be dung or it can be tracks. I was just thinking about these animals last night that we haven't seen any. Now, you can play along as well if you've not really had much, I don't know if, am I a bit close still? Yeah, that's the ones. Where am I? There I am. This one here. You see it's quite circular at the front. So this is your who dung it for the day. Who left that track? So you can send your answers through to questions@WildEarthTV or #SafariLive and see who comes back with the correct answer. As I say, if you haven't played this before, try and think of what it reminds you of back home. So, does it look familiar? It might do. What would we have out here in Africa that would be a similar type of animal? If I can actually point, there, these little ones mixed in between. And I think there was there was one there, there's all pointed ones, and then there's another one down here. Very pointed, very neat little tracks, and that's from the impala. Let's see who comes back with that correct answer first. And the impala track really does fit in with the impala. We've been seeing them quite often at the moment, and they are just a beautiful little antelope, about a medium-sized antelope, but they just look prim and proper. Like, if you think about an antelope, that's kind of what I think of, and they just fit the bill. And even their track is very prim and dainty and proper. And then the males make this wonderful call. It's like they do roar, and it's like a... How close do you think that is? Is that fairly close? But they roar, they really belt it out. So we're currently on Zoe's Road, heading north, looking for any cat tracks. The sun is starting to come out now, but we might still be lucky. A little bit held up. Oh, buffalo tracks going this way. Rob, Raisa, Suzanne, Roger. Sharon and Jennifer. Well done to all of you for getting the correct answer. Marquette and Gloria, well done with zebra. That's what it was, zebra track. So hopefully that might have reminded some of you of a horse with that nice arc-shaped track. Obviously we do have the zebra here in Africa. It's one of the most iconic creatures, I think, along with the giraffe and the elephant of Africa. So we're heading south, but we're pretty close to the boundary. So let's have a look around this area and see if there's anything happening around Sandy Patch. Good morning, Donna from California. Welcome on board. Donna wants to know, will the mother hyena take the baby back to that hyena den, or will she never return again? And it depends on the circumstances. It might do. What have we got here? This is quite an active junction at the moment. We've got hyena tracks again. We've got some Eddie tracks going this way. Eddies would be nice. Yeah, Eddies and hyenas. Hyenas from last night, eddies from this morning, so maybe we'll be lucky with some eddies. So yeah, it depends on the circumstance, Donna. She wouldn't necessarily go back immediately. I think she's moved it on, and they will move from den to den, especially if there has been a threat around. But they will move them to a communal den at some stage. So it depends on where that communal den is as well. And they might move the communal den to the den that we were visiting. So they will have a number of den sites, and they'll just keep moving them around. So we have seen that den site we were at being used for a number of months. And there was quite a lot of activity on that. There was actually a hyena den that we checked out the other day. We just passed the turn off to, just off of Zoe's Road, and that one was active for many months. I think it was a good 6 months we kept visiting it. So it's a shame that those lines pass so close. And as I say, I think with her being she definitely comes across as a first-time mother, especially because she was struggling to get a decent hold on her pup. And as I say, I think we did have Grandma at the den, and I thought Grandma was the mum, and it was the 3 or 4 year old that was the older daughter. But I think it's actually the older daughter that's the mother of pup, and as I say, it was coming through quite loud and clear, and she looked very clumsy with pup. But she just kept looking over her shoulder, and as I say, there was nothing else to suggest there was any other movement of another carnivore in the area. So I think it must have been those lines passing fairly close, and I think she just decided it was just too close for comfort. So she decided to move pup, whereas maybe a more experienced female might have thought, no, we don't need to move. But say it probably was because of that movement of the air, so it could have, she might have thought that they were passing by at that point. But obviously she wants to keep that pup nice and safe. And you can't blame her for that. So that's why I think she has moved it. Little Untumbela. But obviously Untumbela had her own plans. And decided she wanted to stay. Okay. Keep a lookout for elephants around here. Might just try driving Triple M as well. So apparently there were 6 lions here yesterday. We don't know who they were. We just had the update that there was the Birmingham coalition that side of Triple M. Sorry, I didn't catch what was washed away. Hi, Donna. Another Donna. Welcome on board this morning, Donna, and hope you're well. Wanting to know if Bigotty Junction got washed away in the floods, and I'm sorry, Donna, I don't recall the name of the junction. So maybe you can help me out where that actually was, because the name doesn't ring a bell. Unless it was Spaghetti Junction. Ah, Spaghetti Junctions. I was just thinking. Hold on a minute. Spaghetti Junction. Spaghetti Junction was slightly washed away. It just looks different to what we know it as now. But with all the vehicles driving through it having access to, oh, here's our elephant tracks. They've gone off here. That's just not cricket, is it? How rude, Eddies. Come back and play. But yeah, with all the vehicles going through and using the roads again, it looks fairly similar, but certainly a lot wider and a lot more sand than what there was. But I think after the 3 years with all the growth again, it does look very similar to what it used to. But I did see it straight after the floods, and it was just incredible. There was the dongas that had formed, so the water just cut straight through, and there was no way you were going to drive vehicles through there at that stage. Absolutely incredible. Okay, well there goes our Ellies. So I think I'll turn around and head back up on Impala Road to see if there's anything there. Can't remember if there is actually. Could be a turning here. Just check the map again, but I think it is just that access. Yeah, it is. It's just that one access road in. The beauty of it is we can see straight ahead, so there's no one on the road. So let's turn around and head back. Maybe we'll head up towards Sandy Patch and see if there's anything happening around there, and see if we can maybe head up towards Sydney's Dam. Let's see. But yeah, maybe with all the activity from the lions, the leopards have gone into hiding a little bit. But the boys were, the last time we saw Djuma, down towards Twin Dams. That was not yesterday, day before now. And Quarantine Mail was up by Sydney's Dam. So I'm thinking maybe somewhere around this area, maybe the Quarantine would be handy to have a look around. We didn't go down the western side again. We did yesterday. Bushwhack machine. Should be able to get through there. Wow, lots of them. Rattling cisticola calling out there. Oops, sorry. A little bit bumpy here. I've still got you, Brian. I did see some giraffe tracks as well, but it looks like the giraffes have gone further into the bush. So, ooh. Very old lion track just there on the right. Don't know if I'm a little bit close again. Am I a bit close? Yeah. Very, very old. It's probably from yesterday. That better?
Not really.
Nope. Oh, you got it there. Oh, well done. So there we go. So you can just about make out the toes there and the back pad there. So unfortunately can't see the size too clearly. But as I say, just the round toes. But with it being in such thick sand, the track has lasted that little bit longer than what it would do if it's on the thin. You can see there's been a lot of vehicle traffic up and down here. So you're looking about a track that sort of size, so it is pretty big. Look at the size of the lion footprint. Maybe it was that. Is there a little pool here? A little pan? I'm sure there was a little pan around here, but I couldn't find it yesterday. It still looks like it dips down a little bit, but maybe that's all it is. Just a little dip. Unless it was further up. Further up or maybe further back, but I'm sure there was a little pan around here. So you get a coalition of lions, male lions, and you get a coalition of cheetah. Can be up to about 3 cheetah in the coalition, usually related, and they all defend a territory together. Saveidong on the road. Deer termites. Not a good idea to try and build a nest on a road. Bit of pop there. Also a good area for ostrich as well. I'd say it's slightly more open for them. As I say, when the ostrich are walking through here, there's plenty of opportunity for the cats to hunt them here. Sorry, who was that from? Hi Anna, good morning to you. And Anna just asking about some of the research that I'm involved in. And some of you, if you are joining us for the first time, I'm just filling in for Mark, who's away. He's actually on leave for 2 weeks. So I used to drive for Wild Earth about 3 years ago, and I'm very, very happy to be back for the 2 weeks to fill in for Mark. It's such a privilege to be back. But usually I'm about three hours drive from here to the west, in a little place called Leidenberg, and I'm about 35 k's north of that town. And I'm currently studying leopards as part of a PhD. I'm about 1.5 years through the PhD, so I'm working on that. I've been gathering a lot of camera trap data. We go out and look for spoor actually, or tracks as it can be called. And you'd like to know if we actually collar the leopards, and I haven't collared any leopards as part of the research for about 2 years. We did have one female collared, and the project did actually collar quite a number of individuals before then, but we haven't done any collaring since, because I'm concentrating more. A lot of people do collar leopards, so I'm concentrating more on the camera traps, because there's a lot of information that we can gather with camera traps, and as the technology is getting better, the camera traps are getting cheaper and cheaper, and you can have eyes on the ground. And for me, it's actually, if we can standardize the operational procedure and the analysis, for me it's so much better, because obviously you can research quite a wide variety of animals, and we've actually picked up a number of new species for the area just by having our eyes on the ground. But also it's non-invasive, and that for me is one of the biggest things. I mean, obviously it's awesome for us to get close to a wild leopard, but if we can actually monitor them without having to put collars on them, and obviously catch them and sedate them, and the sedating drugs are supposed to have like an amnesia effect as well, but you can never be too sure. See, you don't really know if you are actually, oh, I can hear a tree frog calling in here. It's going to be very well camouflaged, but I can hear the tree. The foam nest frog, or grey tree frog, I think its other name is. you picking that up. Cool, yeah. A foam nest, well, I'll see if I can actually find a foam nest for those of you who might not have seen it before. But they tend to make nests over waterholes, and they're the big white nests that hold the tadpoles. And the tadpoles are protected from any predators that might be in the water. Very cool. Obviously found a nice sheltered spot there to call from. So we've just gone through Sandy Patch. We're heading north towards Sydney's Dam, so hopefully you'll stay with us. So yeah, so for me, if we can standardise that, and that's really where a lot of my research is based around, is the camera trap information. But I know in the area where I operate, we actually picked up a strawberry leopard, or a red leopard, or can be called a white leopard, which is not technically correct. But we were very famous for the black leopard in the area. The black leopard, the leopard actually has too much pigment, so it turns the yellow part of its fur black. But if you see the leopard out in the sun, you'll still see the spots or the rosettes. But the strawberry leopard is the opposite version, so there's not enough pigmentation. It's quite brown, the spots are quite brown in colour, and the fur almost has this rusty red tint to it rather than a beautiful deep golden yellow. Oh, hello, Woodlands kingfisher. For those of you who got the call right of the Woodlands kingfisher, can you see him nicely there, or do I need to move back a bit? He's sitting in there. So for those of you who might have been a new call, that was the Woodlands kingfisher a lot earlier, keeping a lookout for any insects. Now it's very common to see them away from the water, because they do eat insects and lizards, things like that. They don't tend to eat fish, although you may find fish in a dam or a pan on occasion. That striking red bill, and you can see where the kingfishers really are adapted to catching fish. That bill very straight and pointed right at the end, so they can spear the fish without having to worry about it slipping away. And the kookaburras are very close related, or closely related to the kingfishers here. They're part of the same family. Kookaburras are obviously found in Australia, and the blue-winged kookaburra actually shares this electric blue on its wing, but it doesn't have as much electric blue as the Woodlands kingfisher. He's got himself a nice vantage point. Beautiful bird. The black-crowned chegras calling their little hearts out. Very cool. He's actually sitting in a silver cluster leaf, which I introduced Brian to the other day. What does it taste like, Brian?
Delicious.
So if ever you're actually stuck in the bush and you have a toothache, this tree is actually very good for relieving it. It obviously it won't sort it out completely, it won't cure it, but at least it will relieve it. And if you take the leaf and chew it, it'll actually numb. And it's how quick was it? It was pretty quick, eh? But you might be able to see where it gets its name from. The leaves do have a silver hair all over the leaf, and that's actually being picked up now by the sun, and that's what makes those leaves just look so shiny. So if you know where to look, the bush can provide a lot of medicine for you. Okay, let's head on. So yeah, so this the strawberry leopard, I know, well, I say we picked it up 3 times on camera in September around our area. Still haven't picked up a black leopard yet. And I had another, we've actually got some cameras out on neighbouring properties in that area as well, and we actually caught the leopard, the strawberry leopard again in January, which was very exciting. So I'm hoping it's going to stick around. But I know a Parks Board member actually managed to collar a male strawberry leopard for the very first time. I don't think it's ever been done before. But we think we've got a female, because we actually had our resident male, Big D, he was actually following the strawberry leopard, and there is a blog about it if you want to have a look for it. It's on the Ingwe leopard page, and you'll be able to see the difference in the camera trap picture. So Big D, you can see his spots really clearly, and then just before it we had the strawberry leopard. Now with him following it, that's what makes me think it's actually a female that he was following. But that comes about because it's actually a recessive gene. Same with the black leopard, it's a recessive gene. So both male and female have to have that gene, and they have to come together to breed. So even if a male that carries that gene mates with a female that doesn't have the gene, you won't have any odd-coloured leopards. It has to be male and female coming together. And then it does say they will have offspring that are black or green, so they can still be yellow. They can just be carriers of the gene. But if you get 2 strawberry leopards and they mate together, then you'll be guaranteed to have strawberry offspring, or black leopard and black leopard. I'm not sure black leopard and a strawberry leopard. I don't know if it's ever been documented if they could. But unfortunately, welcome back everybody. So it looked like I was pushing my luck at Sydney's Dam. I'm just trying to remember, I think this does lead us down, yeah, this is Albury's Road. I think let's take the Lego. Take the Lego back. Yeah, we've had elephants crossing in, crossing out, so they're just crossing out here again, walking down the road here. But welcome on board to you this morning, Sharon, from Austria. and wanting to know a bit about the leopard and human conflict. And unfortunately, there's obviously two sides to the story. Obviously, leopards are beautiful creatures, and one of the animals that tourists really want to see. But no fence actually keeps a leopard in. They will go over it, they will go under it, they will even go through it, even if it's an electrified game fence, which is what surrounds the Greater Kruger National Park. So unfortunately, those leopards that are on the boundaries will quite often have territories and home ranges that fall outside of the reserves as well, and this actually does bring them into conflict with farmers and livestock owners. Generally speaking, if there's enough prey and the cubs have been brought up with a certain type of prey, so if you think about humans, if the kids have been brought up on certain foods, chances are as adults they eat those certain foods. And it's the same with the carnivores. If they've been brought up hunting and eating certain foods, that's what they know. So generally speaking, if those foods are available, that's what they'll eat. But leopards are extremely adaptive, and if their food source isn't available, they'll then turn their attentions to other things, and this is where the problem can come in. So if there's too many leopards in an area, or excuse me, there's not enough food, then they'll make a plan. And unfortunately, the livestock can be there on the menu as well. Calves, sheep, goats. Obviously, we've touched on dogs as well, but they don't tend to eat dogs, they just tend to kill them. But there is that problem, and it can bring them into conflict with people. Now, you don't tend to hear of African leopard killing people, it still tends to be the livestock. In India, they do have a problem with humans because a lot of the natural food source has been diminished, and a lot of the livestock either can't get at or there isn't in that area, so they have turned their attention to hunting people. They do have quite a problem there in that sense. But as I say, there is still plenty of food for the leopard here, so they don't need to turn their attention to people. It's only really when people interfere that's when they'll attack people, especially if you've got a wounded leopard. Even a mother with cubs, I mean, she'll protect her young, but she wouldn't necessarily go as far as attacking someone unless she really feels that her baby is threatened. But if you come across a female with a baby, chances are she's just going to snarl at you and tell you, no, hey, back off, don't want you here. So, especially in the area that I'm operating in, there's a lot of livestock owners and game farmers, and unfortunately the leopard does take out some of their game, but at the same time this is their livelihood, so you can kind of understand, and this is part of conservation. It's not just about protecting the animal, it's about understanding the people's side of the story as well, and that I do feel very strongly about. And if you can actually work together and try and come up with some solutions, then that is better all round, rather than going in and saying, look, don't shoot these animals, it's not right. You say you're asking somebody, well, I've missed my turning, haven't I? Oh well, we'll go down here instead, we'll go down in Vubu. Thought we were taking a bit longer than we thought, what I thought. So yeah, as I say, if we can actually work together and find solutions. So what I'm trying to do at the moment is just trying to understand the movements of the leopards and who's moving where and how it all fits in, and see if we've actually got a stable community, which I think on the whole we do, but we do have a lot of dispersal through certain areas as well, and I wonder sometimes if that's where we have the problems. But also working out, you know, a female's more likely to go and hunt livestock if it's easier, if they've got cubs and that sort of thing. And so that's really what I'm trying to focus on, the habitat usage, because we have this very different habitat. We've got the savanna in the the valleys, and we've got grassland in the mountains. So technically speaking, we're not supposed to be using the mountain areas, but they are, which is very interesting. And what times they're going to be out and about and things like that, you know, is the moon going to have an impact on them? Because leopards aren't supposed to be active during full moon, but I think they are. I think they're just as active as other nights, but it could be the hunting side of things that changes. And as I say, if we can use camera traps to watch that and try and get an insight without actually interfering with the leopard, I say that to me is going to open up a whole realm in the future of how we monitor species. But there's a few little kinks in the story that people are still trying to iron out, because I think camera traps have only really been used in the last 10 years in many projects. They were originally used for tigers, for tiger population monitoring, and then it's just exploded from there as camera traps are becoming less expensive and easier to get hold of. And of course it's not just leopards as well. You're talking about hyenas and caracals and jackals, baboons, and even to a crop farmer. We're looking at bush pigs and porcupines. I never thought porcupines could do damage, but they actually can. They can do some serious damage to crop. And kudu as well. Kudu are another one. I'm on Vubu, which is just opposite Final Control. So I do know this is another favourite area for Karula, and I would say probably her cubs. I think they would know this area extremely well. But again, very little in the way of tracks along here. I was going to try and take Gallego or Gallego, tomato, potato, potato. But obviously I missed my road, unfortunately. But I think I'm almost there with remembering the roads. I'm almost there. Which isn't too bad considering it's been 3 years. So these termite mounds here as well, they usually there's some nice shady spots on top of them. There's a termite mound just here. I just went to check. So I remember Shavinzi sitting on top of it. Thinking just to have a look around any of these thicker bushed areas now, just to see if we haven't got a spotted cat moving through them. This is really grown up. Wow, this is pretty open when I was here last. Remember actually sitting underneath one of the marula trees, just all elephants fighting in front of us, about 5 or 7 meters in front of us. And I wasn't worried about them actually turning on us, but I was worried that they might forget that we were actually there. I was worried they were going to forget we were there and push each other into us. So I did try and move back a little bit, disturb them by trying to move out of a hole, and I forgot I wasn't in low range. I just revved that a little bit too much, thinking I was going to go over it. They stopped what they're doing, kind of looked at us, and then they carried on once I moved back a little bit. Displaying up in the tree as we unfortunately coming to the end of our drive, but they were just displaying. A little bit quieter than yesterday's drive, but I hope you guys enjoyed it all the same, and certainly amazing to see that behaviour with the hyena moving her pup. But thank you very much for joining me this morning, and for Brian with his camera work, and File Control, thanks again for sending all the questions through. And take care everybody from wherever you are in the world, and hopefully you can join us again this afternoon here on Wild Earth. But goodbye for now.